George Dillman is an odd character. On the one hand, he is a very highly acclaimed martial artist with an impressive resume, but on the other hand, he is the butt of jokes online and the poster boy for bullshido. He has trained with the likes of Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali. He has more money than you would think. He is thought of by some as a master and by others as a clown. One thing is for sure, he has more funny bullshido videos than anyone else on the planet. The king of no-touch knockouts. This is the George Dillman story.
My sensei, George Dillman.
George Dillman, one of the best known martial artists in the world.
And I could reverse boxing history.
Interesting.
It's a true story.
Hello guys, how's it going? You alright? I'm sure you all know who George Dillman is from the endless bullshido videos online about him. Stuff like this.
Ning! Ning! Feel it more? Yes, I do. Yeah.
But maybe you're not too familiar with his life story, which is actually pretty interesting. In this video, we'll be looking at some of the more funny examples of bullshido from our man Dillman, plus his history in martial arts, how much money is made, and much more. So let's get into it. Well, first, let's watch him knocking out some of his students.
And I'm going to imagine chi going from that hand to that hand with a touch, no hitting. Whoa. I reach back and just tap him back here, and I'm going to pass out. A little tap. Somebody help me with him. Somebody help me with him. Tap. And tap. Take it, take it, take it, take it. Is going to finish it. But I tap him with that, which I'm not going to really do to him, because that really hurts. Oh, sorry. That I'll hit. And push in here. Pull it tight against your chest. Don't let me move it. If I try to move his hand, I almost move him. He's a little child before I can move his hand.
Does it make me a bad person that I really wanted him to knock out that kid? He didn't. I guess even George has limits on who he'll knock out. So let's give George the benefit of the doubt and say that all of the knockouts that he did were genuine. Spoiler alert, they're not, but let's just say that they are. If that's the case, then George is a massive dick. He's knocking people out left, right and centre, which doesn't seem like a nice thing to do. If you've ever been knocked out, then you know that it's not a great feeling. Embarrassment, confusion, vulnerability are just a few of the feelings that you get when you're knocked out. Plus, if this is real, who knows what this is really doing to your brain and body? Who knows if hitting pressure points is really a safe thing to do? Seems like a dick move to me. That is pretty funny though. Well, now we've got that out of our system, let's get into some of the details and come back to the funny stuff. Most of this information is taken from Dillman's biography called Prometheus or his website. George was born on the 23rd of November 1972 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His father was a military man and got him into combat sports. At the age of 9 he started judo, but this ended when he had a fight with his stepfather and left home. He then drifted around as a teenager and took up boxing. He would fight in small-scale events in which he held a record of 25-3 after 3.5 years. After a while, George got sick of this lifestyle and followed in his father's footsteps by joining the military. George was put onto domestic duties and never fought in any wars as far as I know. So while on duty, Dillman was assigned to keep the peace in Washington DC following the assassination of Martin Luther King. While at the riot, George apparently took on 30 men and put 2 of them in the hospital. I'll come back to this and a lot of the claims later in the video, but just for now, know if I say the word apparently, you should take the claim with a pinch of salt. Bear in mind, most of this information came from George, and George says things like this. George Dillman.
Wise words from George Dillman! Positive electricity on this side. There is a negative electricity back here. If it were possible for you to squeeze them together, the person is supposed to die. There's no way we know that.
Dillman began practicing karate in 1961 and apparently he won 327 trophies between 1969 and 1972. On his website, it lists these trophies were for fighting, forms, breaking, and weapons. While teaching karate, George, the dirty little dog, cheated on his wife with one of his female students.
Sneak into that hole.
His wife found out and offered to fight the mistress, but the fight never happened, and apparently the three of them now get along fine.
The little finger is important for women.
In 1972, he met a man called Hohan Soken, who gave him a set of notes introducing the fundamental concepts of kyusho-jitsu. Kyusho-jitsu is a martial art focused on targeting pressure points to take down attackers or to heal people. Dillman was unable to master the techniques and forgot about kyusho-jitsu until 1983 when he saw Seiyu Oyata perform a knockout using this martial art. George then trained with Seiyu Oyata, and the rest is bullshido history. Seiyu Oyata has now changed the name of his martial arts to Ryukyu and has made it clear that Dillman is not sanctioned or affiliated with his school.
You attack weak point. This weak point. He pointed to one. This weak point. You punchy, and I punch. He hit me here. I go, oh yeah, weak point. It was a very weak point, and this is how it came about.
So, let's learn some other interesting things about Dillman. These are in no particular order. So George trained with Muhammad Ali for about 3.5 years. This seems to be true judging by the amount of photos of the two of them together. Dillman was also apparently Ali's bodyguard for one of his fights. While he was bodyguarding at the fight, George and the bodyguard crew apparently stopped someone from punching Ali. You know, I'd guess one of the best boxers in history could handle some drunken spectator, but cool story, bro.
Muhammad and I got talking, and I told him, he said, what about this, what about that? I said, in the ring, you could beat me. I said, I can own up to that. But I said, if we go out here in the alley, I'll kick the daylights out of you. Daniel Pye and I, for the Floyd Patterson fight, were Muhammad Ali's bodyguards going into Madison Square Garden.
George also had a friendship with Bruce Lee, and the two apparently trained and sparred with each other.
You know, if you ask him to fight, well, I asked him to fight, is how it came about. He didn't ask me, I asked him. I said, I want to fight with you, I'll spar. And we spar. And so I get in my fighting stance, and all of a sudden, pow, his foot hits me upside the head. If you knew him, fantastic, you loved him. If he didn't like you, he let it be known.
So the internet tells me that Dillman's net worth is $3.5 million. Looking at how much his DVDs cost, I can see why he's a millionaire. Bloody hell. I could have a fun night with a bag of coke and some hookers for how much it would cost for one of his bullshit DVDs. Anyway, he also runs many seminars on pressure points around the world, has many dojos, and has sold many books. So you can say whatever you want about the real-world applications of pressure points, but you can't say that it's not a profitable business.
And by the way, I have things on sale. If you're interested, you're going to get the best buy on my videos you'll ever get. The videos sell in the U.S. for $100, some for $60. We're going to sell them for 15 pounds because I'm going from video to DVD, and I'm unloading them, but the knowledge is still there. People still have the video recorder. So if you are interested, 15 pounds, anyone, the $100 one, 15 pounds, $60 one, 15 pounds. So we're unloading them. And I have some of my books that you should be reading and studying to learn the pressure points.
George has also apparently trained law enforcement.
I teach police now, I teach security people all over the world.
George is also a 10th degree black belt in this. Sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing foreign words and I have no idea what this says. Has also been honoured by Black Belt magazine as 1997's Instructor of the Year, and has run his own tournament called the Northeast Open Karate Championships. So now to the part that most of you have probably been waiting for. George Dillman being shown to be a fraud. So apart from the many self-apparent examples online, there are two main things that we're going to go over. First, the Mark Tripp incident. In 1994, UFC trainer Mark Tripp offered Dillman $2,000 to knock him out without touching him. Tripp claims that Dillman was unable to knock him out after a few attempts and ended up sucker punching Tripp to knock him over. Tripp then claims that he tried to attack George, but Dillman's students held him back. Dillman's students say that they were trying to revive him after Dillman had performed a pressure point knockout. Hard to say which is true, as it's just one person's word against another, but the internet seems to side with Tripp. The most well-known debunking of Dillman was when National Geographic filmed him doing no-touch knockouts on his students. All was going well and Georgie Boy was chi blasting the shit out of everyone. Then National Geographic brought out their big guns, an impartial, sleazy Las Vegas magician. He's not really a magician, he just looks like one. He's a chemist. One of Dillman's students tried to chi blast the chemist, and as you can probably guess, it didn't work. What a shocker. The best part of this whole TV show was the reason that George gave for it not working.
I don't know if I should say that on film, but if the guy had his tongue in the wrong position of the mouth, that can also nullify it. Yeah, you can nullify it. You can nullify a lot of things done to you. In fact, you can nullify it if you raise those two big toes.
Let's just give Dillman the benefit of the doubt again and say that he has chi powers and that all of the things that he teaches are 100% true. What good is any of it if all the other person needs to do is have his tongue in the wrong place or his toes twisted or whatever dumb shit he was going on about? This was the final nail in the coffin for George, and he became the laughing stock of the martial arts world. On that note, let's enjoy some classic Dillman.
George Dillman, one of the best-known martial artists in the world.
Every move in the kata is made to kill somebody. Every move was made to kill somebody.
Ning to a technique like this, and you'll injure the person.
But in a rape situation, if the girl were on her back, she can almost support the arm and then do this, and he will fly off of her because then he's bent over and the nerves off his spine are stretched.
I have nice knuckles, touch the little finger.
This is now like a weapon. It's hard. It means business.
My hands are on top. Give him a shot. No. There you go, there you go, there you go, there you go.
Flashy move. Underneath.
You can. And I was going to throw chi with the punch, and naturally I gave it everything I had and focused the punch. I threw that punch at a spot right here where that if you were shot, the bullet could pass through and not hit a major organ. And I'm glad I did, because that punch would have killed it.
So I've used the word apparently a lot in this video because surprisingly it's very hard to find verifiable facts on Dillman, and you just need to believe the claims that he makes. Bear in mind that this is a man that says things like this.
You are to hit back to front, and then you are to punch him front to back. Understand? That goes main source, splits, splits, and splits. That's why that as a triple warmer point is what we call a dangerous point. It can do damage. When you get these three to tie up with those three, because of the positive negative side of the body, those three are totally allergic to these three.
His boxing record, the fact that he even did boxing, his karate trophies, beating up 30 men at a riot, the list goes on and on. These are just claims that George makes, and that's all the evidence that I could find for them. Now, this is not to say that these things didn't happen, as most of them took place in the 60s and 70s when cameras weren't everywhere and the internet didn't exist. But I've been unable to find one single fight inside or outside of the ring for George. All I find are articles written about him where they just copy and paste from his website over and over again. That's it. Even the congressional record is just a copy and paste from his website. So what's my view on Dillman? After watching many hours of his seminars and interviews, plus reading lots of stuff to make this video, I think he was probably a good martial artist for his time, but he doesn't let the truth get in the way of a good story, and is most likely a con man fleecing people that don't know any better. I'm a pretty open-minded guy, so who knows for sure. Maybe the stuff he teaches is true. Pressure points are a thing that are painful, so I can see why people that have maybe never had a real fight would think they're a golden ticket to win any conflict. But in real life, when your adrenaline's pumping and anger has taken over your mind, they're not going to do much, or at least that's what I think. If these things are true, you'd have seen them being used on historic battlefields or in MMA fights. The fact that these things are not found in the UFC is a pretty good indicator that they don't work in the real world. But make your own mind up on the effectiveness of what Dillman teaches. I think I find the story of George Dillman so interesting because it seems like a template for most of these Bushido masters, and even further than that, it seems the same for cults, politics, religion, pretty much anything where groups of people are too afraid to tell the truth. They don't want to be the one that speaks up, so everyone just keeps quiet and a feedback loop grows where no one is telling the master or cult leader or whatever that what they're doing is stupid, so they end up believing that they can knock people out without touching them, or that they're a living god, or that they have the right to depopulate the world. Fuck the lizard people! You know what I mean though? People need to be told when they're doing dumb stuff. Speaking of dumb stuff.
But that hand striking for a woman is negative. And this hand is negative for man and positive for a woman. So a woman can reverse it, and so can you reverse yours, but you have to raise the foot. That's where you raise the foot. You totally switch your polarity.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, then check out this one about Chinese Bushido and the story of Zhu Xiaodong, or this playlist for other interesting people. Bye bye.
That is the end